Welcome everyone to our webinar on how one hospitality organization is improving their employee efficiency and engagement with Oracle's HR Digital Assistant. On the call today, my name is Tim Grudel. I'm the president of Fishbowl Solutions. As well, I have Scott Moore, Director of Business Development from Oracle. During this webinar, we're going to discuss employee self-service business challenges and other challenges organizations have in providing more automated and enhanced ways to give service to their business. We're going to cover what a digital assistant is and how it can help. We're going to detail one customer success with the digital assistant, dive into a demonstration of that digital assistant use case and some of the capabilities, and then really understand how Oracle and Fishbowl have partnered to be the world's leaders in digital assistance for employee self-service, and then finalize and finish up with a summary and any questions. So today, in today's world, employees are continually increasing the demands they have on their employers. They're becoming much more social in the way they want to interact, and they're looking to really get the information they need quickly. Currently, for organizations, the cost to fund or a typical ticket cost for an HR self-service ticket is about $14. So as you look at some of the organizations we're working with, a lot of employees, that cost can get very expensive. And that's only running that during normal business hours, which is another one of the challenges. Is many organizations only have a help desk that's 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. A lot of our clients and customers are looking to deliver an experience that is 24/7, doesn't take vacations, and is never sick. At the end of the day, not getting access to the information and your paychecks and updating your information is one of the factors that's leading to such a high degree of disengagement for employees. So a lot of our key customers and prospects are really looking at how can they go ahead and impact those metrics to drive employee engagement and efficiencies and keep the costs in check. We'll start with what is a digital assistant and how can it help? I oftentimes start with many consumers are starting to get exposed to digital assistant with either Alexa or Siri or some of the other interactions that you have, whether that be in your car or elsewhere. That is kind of synonymous what digital assistants are. We're just applying that same use case to the enterprise. So in an enterprise, digital assistants are very instrumental in being able to deflect common questions away from either support tickets and the manual process to deal with those, or from the more advanced organizations that have live agent handoffs. So one of the scenarios, again, is I'm looking to do something as simple as change my address. If you have a large number of employees, they're oftentimes moving, they need their addresses up to date for paychecks or for other materials to get sent. And if you can deflect that interaction, you can, again, have a significant impact on the manual effort that your organization faces in maintaining that interaction. Another common example is how can you provide questions to commonly asked questions or frequently asked questions to help drive that experience. So frequently people want to know what my schedule is. They want to know what my PTO balance is, or things like what my bereavement or funeral policy is. So those, again, are very common examples that organizations are looking to allow their employees to get access to with the methods that they want to interact with, and very quickly and effectively. A final scenario is you can even get into more complex interactions where you can find out about your paycheck, and if you have an issue, the digital assistant platform can actually create a support ticket so you can maintain your SLAs, track that information, and streamline your processes. So again, summarizing, it can really cut costs, drive a much better service experience, and streamline and integrate it with other enterprise systems that you're running. So the story we're going to talk about today and then kind of highlight is there's a large theme park in Florida that has a tremendous number of young and seasonal employees and part-time employees. Currently, their HR environment is set up where they have to go into a HR service desk to go ahead and get these questions asked and to get the information up to date. So they were looking to kind of modernize their workforce to become more competitive with other theme parks in the area, try to provide a level of engagement that the new generation is looking to interact with, whether that be SMS or other forms. And they wanted to be able to scale it to integrate with a lot of their back-end systems. And they use PeopleSoft's HCM platform for human capital management. And they also use a scheduling system called Kronos. What we ended up delivering was a customer-branded solution that interacted across multiple channels, both SMS interactions and also on their HR portal. It, as we said, is now a 24/7 virtual assistant. Doesn't get sick, works weekends, and can handle a lot of those common use cases, with the goal of working to deflect up to 35% or 30% of their interactions. They are also having a live agent interaction, so if some of your organizations out there aren't aware, the live agent handling of tickets has been extremely popular over the last couple of years, and it's provided a lot of enhanced support. It just is still more expensive than obviously a virtual computer program to go solve that problem. So I'm going to switch over to a demo and kind of show you some of these examples from updating information, viewing the paycheck, scheduling, PTOing, and some FAQs. So I will cover two different demos. One, I'm going to demo it within a browser, and then I will also work to jump over to my phone and show how we can do the same things on a SMS messaging. So here we are, we're on the Fishbowl website, and very commonly digital assistants get embedded on your website or in other interactions, whether that be a full web page or mobile. From within that, I can go ahead and open my virtual assistant, and then it now is going to welcome me and give me a listing of some of the things it can do. So I'll start by just updating some information. Okay. In this case, because you're updating information, we're always using, generally we're using some form of authentication, whether that be tying into their single sign-on system and kind of having a token to handle that, or whether that be through a two-factor authentication. For the demo, I'm just going to go ahead and, fill in, so it's prompting me for a customer or my employee ID. I fill in my employee ID, and now that's going ahead and as simple as that, understands who I am calling, what my address is, and now I have the option to go ahead and update, in this case, phone numbers or addresses. So I will just go update my phone number. And from here now I can put in my phone number. And as easy as that, I've got that information updated, and that goes directly to our enterprise PeopleSoft system, where then that whole transaction is complete. The next scenario that I now want to know is, okay, what's my paycheck? So how much am I going to be making this week? I'm a part-time employee, so I can't remember the number of days and what my paycheck's going to be, so I will just go ahead and say, let me view my, can I view my paycheck? Again, in this case, security is important, and you can kind of configure it differently depending on the organization and the security, as far as, do you want them to be asked every time they make a request, or whether you want to cache it for a certain amount of time. In this case, we have it set up so that they have to enter the information every time. I fill that in, and I can see that my paycheck for May 31st was $500. So now I need to know, well, I want to make a little more money. I kind of want to figure out what my schedule is. So I can say, what is my schedule? And with the digital assistant platform, you can go ahead and handle it where it just provides a single response, or with some organizations, we will actually go ahead and design the conversation to go ahead and disambiguate on, do I want my schedule for this 1 week, for the next 2 weeks. So based on the use case and the customer scenario, we can go ahead and have kind of an interaction or dialogue with the employee to find out specifically what they're looking for. So in this case, I'm just getting my week next week. So it looks like, okay, the 20th I'm open. So now I want to go ahead and say, I would like to take some PTO. I want to add PTO next Tuesday. Put my name. And now it knows, okay, would you like to set it for that, to a PTO day? Choose yes. So now as easy as that, was able to find my schedule, request PTO, and I did not need a human interaction at all. The next scenario ties into, I'm a new employee and I don't really know, I've got a funeral, unfortunately, and I want to know what the policy is. So in this case, I'm going to say, what if I have a funeral? In this case, the Oracle Platforms is understanding and translating that funeral applies to the bereavement policy. It's now abstracting some information from the policy, and then it's displaying kind of a snippet of that information in the response. And then it's also providing me with an actual link to the employee handbook, where then I can go find out more about that bereavement policy. So what we highlighted there was really the ability of the Oracle platform to understand the natural language and go ahead and provide an integration with a back-end system to pull the information out. So the final scenario I'm going to run to now is I'm going to switch to a text, and I'm going to show you how the platform supports a similar scenario. So here I am now on my phone, and I can simply type in, hello. And now, again, it's because it's a different interaction layer, it does not have the ability to have buttons through an SMS message. So it outlines what I can do here. In this case, I will go ahead and now view my schedule. Again, just like on the phone, I now have, or on the computer, I have to go ahead and type in my information. And now you can see the information, and you can actually see on 6/18, the date that I requested with that last interaction now is set as a PTO date. So there you were able to go see, I'll jump back to the presentation. I kind of highlighted a number of scenarios that are very common for organizations in delivering an HR self-service experience. I'm going to pass it over to Scott. Before I do, I wanted to provide a little bit of context that Fishbowl has been working with digital assistants for a number of years, and the Oracle, when we evaluated a lot of platforms, Oracle stuck out to us in their ability to integrate with enterprise applications, the natural language processing and the machine learning algorithms they have, and the scalability that Oracle provides as a vendor. So with that, I will pass it over to Scott. And Scott, why don't you take over?
Well, thank you very much, Tim. So I'm Scott Moore. I'm with Oracle Business Development, and I do focus on mobile and digital assistance as some of my areas. And you'll see, from what Tim just did, that conversational interfaces are really where we're starting to see some uptick, right? We can leverage them to, do call deflection. We can actually have 24/7 interaction. And we can do a lot more with self-service. And this is everything from inside the organization as well as externally. And when we think externally, we also have to think about the different channels that are really required to be supported in that regard. So yes, we can do web applications and we can hook into there. And yes, SMS is definitely one. But what about your Microsoft Teams or your Slack channels or your any of your other channels that are there, even including Facebook, right, and Twitter? So conversational is really the way that we engage from a textual standpoint. It's really the way that people think. So it reduces the requirement to actually teach and to have our customers or our employers learn a way to engage with us. And when we start thinking about speech, and I'm not sure if you engage with speech devices, but these are also a forefront of where we're going. It's not just Cortana and Alexa. It's not just about Google Home and Google Assistant. It's about being able to accept speech and work from that pattern. So at Oracle, one of the things we looked at was how can we extend the enterprise? And considering the fact that we have a lot of experience and several different applications related to ERP and HCM and CX, we thought it was important to start building skills out that help to extend those platforms. But also it's important that you engage these skills in even your own customer third-party apps. And with Digital Assistant, you can do that. You can integrate into these and you can start to build these skills. But one of the things about Digital Assistant, or one thing that's different about Digital Assistants versus, say, chatbots, things that you're probably engaging with today, is that a Digital Assistant is able to look at these different skills and route the conversation to the appropriate skill. So for example, I may be talking to a Digital Assistant about some IT service requests that I have, but I also want to follow up with a little bit of understanding about how my procurement of a specific product in my company is coming along. Or I may want to change some of my HR information. And having to have somebody go back and forth to multiple different chatbots isn't really good, because that's not the way we think about. We don't think about talking to one person and then having to switch complete gears and talk to a completely different one. We want to have kind of a seamless transition as we're having these conversations. So Digital Assistant allows you to do that as well. And it works within our SaaS channels with the pre-built skills. But when we think about pre-built skills, I want you to think about them the same way you think about pre-built mobile applications or pre-built applications in general. You may want to extend those and you may want to change them. And that's another place where Fishbowl can come in handy for, extending out these skills that you have. And as Tim said, Fishbowl is a premier partner when it comes to digital assistants, as well as other Oracle products and other Oracle processes. And they've been doing this for a really long time. So they think about how that engagement works. And when you think about like a chat engagement, it's not just linear and straightforward. There's a lot of things that you have to think about in regards to that. So for example, if I'm looking at an employee service, right, and you just saw a good example of that, I could be looking at sick leave or benefits, or I may want to do some kind of employee feedback, or I may want to do employee planning. I might want to look at how, for example, my employees to be able to go into another position, how are their skills looking, and what do I need to do from an organizational perspective to help them with that? How I can get into self-service information like tax forms and salary details and my goals, right, or absences. You saw all of that. But how I engage with that digital assistant is the same way I'm going to engage with that HR representative. So you don't want to have that DA, that digital assistant, just be focused on, just one statement, right? It needs to look at the conversation. The artificial intelligence and machine learning takes that learning process and helps to that engagement become, better and more seamless. So if I was looking at, these digital assistant skills for employee services, this would be what I was looking at. And if I'm, say, for example, an HR and hospitality organization, I have a lot of employees that are engaging with me, and I may even be seasonal. And how do I scale those up, and how do I scale that down? And how do I offer that training? These are other things that you can do from an employee self-service perspective as well with digital assistants. So Tim, I'll take it back to you so you can talk about how you help build those chatbots and how that design works.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. Fishbowl has been at this since 2017, and so we've built out kind of a very robust process to do it. At the high level, we're analyzing intents with answers and the experience. So there's a circle on how we go about doing that. And we didn't really provide an intro at Fishbowl at the beginning. We really like to focus on, let's target the business problem. So, and how we go about doing it, and then show you some real life stuff, which is what people really find the meat of the value comes from. But we want to really let people know as well that to deliver digital assistance, you need a lot of experience to do it. Basic ones with what we call the happy path are easy, but when you start to get into more complex scenarios, to give a good experience, it's hard. So Fishbowl has been an Oracle Gold partner since '99, so a little over 20 years. We've been doing digital assistance since 2017. And we have a lot of expertise in some of the key areas like conversational design and the mobile deployments. So that's really important in success. We also have a lot of background in history and unstructured content and portals, and as well a lot around enterprise search solutions like Google Cloud Search and whatnot. So that's Fishbowl, and it all ties together in that our goal is to provide the next level of experience, which in this case is the conversational experience, to go ahead and allow your employees to interact with the back-end systems in the way that they most fluidly do it, which is through a conversation. A little more detail on our delivery process. So key part of it is, you know, like a normal project, you got the planning portion of it, where you really need to flush out the use cases and really make sure that your understanding is the scenario appropriate for a conversational experience. Many companies we've been working with go ahead and say, oh, we have this new toy, it's a chatbot or digital assistant, let's just go start to implement it. And they don't really think about, is it a realistic problem that this is going to successfully solve? And so many organizations that we come into after the fact had started a project, failed, and then we come in and we help them through these key steps in the planning process. Once you do that, then you get into the build portion of it, and there's some really key pieces to consider with the systems integrations. Digital assistants interact with back-end systems at a different pace than a lot of other integrations, so you have to really plan for scalability and the personalization and the performance. And the user experience is also critical, and that can be anything from, you know, how do the bubbles flow back? You know, how do you break down the sentences and the utterances and the information that comes back? There's a lot that really is involved in making sure the experience is new and fresh for the people. Then you need to really get into the testing and making sure that the analytics and the validation are all really right, because particularly when you're in a scenario like HR and you may have a lot of requests that are similar, you need to make sure conversationally and linguistically that you're disambiguating the different requests. So like if you said, I want to cancel, is it cancel my paycheck? Is it cancel my job? Is it cancel my vacation? You have to be able to help understand that and disambiguate it. Otherwise, you'll have a bad employee experience. And then it's all about tuning it after the fact. So as you start to get real live information, and what we found is our customers and what we thought people would ask and how they would ask it, it never ceases to amaze us how different that is when you get it into the real world, particularly with regional and different other employee backgrounds. So it's very important to do a lot of tuning and enhancing and testing through that process. But the key thing we highlight is that very first step is really critical in vetting the use cases and really understanding the conversational flows so you can succeed. So that was just a little about Fishbowl. You know, kind of in summary, as we move to the end of this webinar, the key highlights are employee self-service is expensive. Most organizations don't give employees the support they need because it is expensive, and therefore they have a lot of their employees that waste a lot of their managers or other people's time trying to track down basic information. So all of that starts to lead towards more disengagement, because you might have a lot of great benefits, but if people don't know about them, didn't go to the onboarding, or didn't know who to ask, they're missing out on all the value you as an HR organization are providing. Digital assistants can provide a lot of capabilities around things like FAQs. They can also facilitate tasks like scheduling PTO or finding of other information that comes out of different systems. They've been out for a couple of years now, and they're really starting to get hold within organizations. And some of the analysts talk about by 2020, virtually, probably like 75% of the organizations will have some form of a digital assistant in their enterprise. So it's not a matter of, is this going to happen? It's just a matter of when. And really, Fishbowl and Oracle working together really provide that enterprise class scalability and integration expertise with Oracle, and Fishbowl with the digital experience and the user experience, and then the conversational design skills really provide you that partnership that's critical, so that the first time you start down this path, you don't end up like so many others failing and having the project scrapped when really there was potential. You just picked the wrong technology partner and the wrong implementation partner to succeed. So with that, we're a little bit ahead of where we needed to be because it's pretty efficient. So I wanted to see if there's any questions people have from a poll standpoint. Okay, here's one question we have. What are the key systems that you've integrated with? So Fishbowl has integrated with Oracle's PeopleSoft, HCM Cloud, ServiceNow, Salesforce, and we're currently working on a project with Workday. And I also mentioned Kronos, so we've integrated with that as well. Another question is, what's the typical implementation time? Implementations of digital assistants can vary based on the complexity of the requests and the integrations. A key component to consider is, and to evaluate is, does the backend system have an API that lends itself to the interactions that a digital assistant conversation has? That's really one of the first key components in delivering an estimate. The other piece is how many different intents and what the user experience is. So our implementations range anywhere from typically 4 to 12 weeks, and we really recommend taking that kind of get something successful, and then kind of build from there. So with that, you can find out more information on any of the different social media channels or at our website. And if there's no other questions, we will finish the webinar. And thank you, Scott, very much for all your help and support. And thanks everyone for attendance.